Good day, folks. Thank you so much for making time today to join us for our webinar on the use of AI and how it can support you with building the influence that you have as an executive support professional within your organization. My name is John Bennett. I'm head of sales for iBabs in the UK and Ireland. iBabs works with over 3,000 executive support professionals and 300,000 end users to solve the headache of organising and running secure, collaborative and effective board and committee meetings. If we can jump to the next slide, a few words on the housekeeping for the call today. Please do ask questions in the live chat as we go. There will be a Q&A at the end of the session where Lucy will hopefully be able to respond to any questions you have around the talk and the discussion. There will also be a replay of the call available after the event, and as we go, we will be doing polling. So please do give us your thoughts as we go and do the little votes because they will help inform and shape the discussion as we go. So jumping forward onto our next slide, I'm delighted, honoured and privileged to be joined today once again by the amazing Lucy Brazier OBE. Lucy, thank you so much for joining us. I'm quite sure none is needed, but maybe you could say a few words by way of introduction.
Hi, Jonathan. It's always wonderful to be with you. I love working with iBabs. You know that. But yes, I'm Lucy Brazier, OBE. I'm the CEO of Executive Support Media. As a company, we produce a magazine, Executive Support Magazine, but we do training and we do events. And basically, we give you all the knowledge that you need as administrative professionals to get out there and do your best work. But I also do a huge amount of campaigning. I'm very involved in the world work. We talk to your executives, we talk to your HR professionals, we help you to restructure your administrative functions, but also very involved in work to help globally the profession to be recognised and to elevate itself.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining us. It's always a delight to do these events. The discussion today is really designed to look at how AI can help us enhance our profile and demonstrate the value we bring every day to the role of executive support within our organizations. It's about how we leverage the time savings and the ever-evolving capabilities of this really powerful new technology in the service of becoming a more strategic assistant and support to our teams. It's not about assistants disappearing. It's about assistants really stepping into greater influence within our organization. So if we click on a slide, Lucy, why is this conversation so important right now?
Oh my goodness, everything just changed for this profession. You know, for the longest time, we have had organisations who have defined us by things we probably should never have been defined by. And that's the task-based reactive stuff that we do. Email, calendar, minutes, doing expenses, the stuff that they tell us to do, and off we go and we do it. But really, that isn't what assistants have been doing for the longest time. In fact, in the last 3 years, LinkedIn is telling us that you're doing 30% more strategic work. And so AI, I feel, is going to be taking away the stuff that, quite frankly, we never really wanted to do in the first place. Not unless you're slightly mad and really enjoy doing minutes. And it's going to free our time up to do far more of the strategic work, like the project management and research and workflow optimization and process and procedure and implementation, which are really the things that we have shone at for the longest time, but really haven't been recognised for. Yes, of course, there is a grain of truth in the fact that if your job is purely being told what to do and going and doing it, and you're a very low-level administrator that is told what to do and you're just doing tasks, yes, we're already seeing some of those roles getting laid off. But quite frankly, for the last 10 years, we have been talking to you about the fact that really you need to get more strategic, you need to understand your organizations, you need to understand where you add value. And this is just an extension of that, really. So no, I don't think assistants are going to be made obsolete. In fact, what I do think is that we are going to see you taking your place finally as infrastructure as opposed to an overhead. And that's really important in terms of change of mindset.
My sense was you definitely have a few thoughts on the topic. Maybe if we can do a quick poll at this stage, to have a look at. So I guess really, how do you use AI tools in your daily work right now, folks? Do you feel super confident and you're using them all the time and happy to sort of engage with AI as a tool to really help you become more strategic? Is it something that you're playing with, but still finding is an area where you're learning new things all the time? Maybe you're just sticking your toe in the water with the AI tools, and you've sort of had a look at it and had a play with it, but not maybe so confident with it. Or are you feeling you're not sure really where to start with it, and a bit nervous about potential risks and that sort of stuff associated with AI? So, folks, if you wouldn't mind just clicking the buttons on your screen to share with us how you're feeling about the use of AI in your world. And basically, we've got around 10% of our audience who are really very confident and use AI regularly and strategically. We've got 60% roughly of the audience who are somewhat confident, experimenting and still learning. We've got about a third of our audience who are curious but cautious and haven't tried it much yet. And then around 5% who have yet to really engage or are not sure how to even start the process. So, Lucy, I'd be intrigued to get your thoughts on those findings.
Yeah, that's very definitely the kind of stats that we're seeing also. But we're at dial-up stage really with AI. It is right at the very beginning. And for those of you that are old like me who remember when the internet first came in, who remembers AOL? Who remembers that blue line and the screeching that used to happen when it was trying to connect you? And, it was on telephone lines. And if somebody else used the telephone, it'd cut you off. That's where we are with AI. But over the next 2 years, we're going to find that really it is growing exponentially. So for me, I feel that right back in the beginning when the internet came in, do you remember how your businesses were going, we're not so sure about this. Let's see how this plays out. We're going to play our cards very close to our chest. We might build an intranet because actually there are security issues here and we're not sure that really we want other people having access to our information. Is this sounding horribly familiar? Because that's exactly where we are right now. And then one morning they woke up and they said, this is going to fundamentally change the way that we do business. And actually we need to get with the program. And what we saw was all those companies like Alta Vista and AOL, and I'm sure you can remember all sorts of other ones as well. But Google suddenly went into first place, and a lot of them merged, and really we ended up where we are now. And then e-commerce came in as well. But to me, it is so exciting. I think you're not going to break it. Go play with it. It's going to free up so much of your time to do more valuable work. And if you're feeling a bit nervous right now, it is just like the internet. You can go and see what it can do and you see if you can find things and what works better than other things. Go do that. Fiona Young, who is a wonderful AI trainer, always says, do playtime every day, do 10 minutes where you're just going, I wonder if it can do that. You'd be surprised, I think, at how amazing it's going to be for you.
I know there's a sort of lot of anxiety at the moment around AI being here to replace our jobs. Is Is this your experience with it, Lucy, or what do you think?
I do think that if you are really lower level as an assistant, then yes, of course, if it's just task-based reactive stuff, if you can do something twice in the same way, it can be automated. But I don't think for most assistants, for the more, if you've ever seen the global skills matrix, you've got levels 1 to 5. 1 and 2 are entry level and probably the secretarial role of old. Those are the roles that are going to go. But if you understand the business and you're starting to really work with your executive to understand how you free up time, and you're doing basic project management, and you started to do more things other than the real basics, I think it's just about filling those gaps in your knowledge. And certainly I don't think that it is a threat. I think it's a benefit, and really I would be focusing on how it's going to augment your career rather than the fact that it might take your job. I feel like it is co-pilot, it's not autopilot. So really it needs somebody who's going to make it work in the first place. But I'm sure we're going to come on to talk about that. 77% of businesses are now using AI. That's only going to grow. The amount of assistants that have started taking it on in the last year, I think AI adoption with admins has more than doubled in 1 year. So it's now 53% who are using it as part of their daily work, as opposed to 26% last year. In fact, I was just at a conference in Seattle where we asked by a show of hands how many people were using it on a daily basis, and it ended up being about 80% of the audience that were saying they were using it on a daily basis. So it's just growing. And assistants are the fastest adopters, by the way. The latest work trends report from LinkedIn says that assistants are the fastest job family to be adopting AI. So you're really front and center and driving it. And of course you are, because it's always the assistants who are the super users of any new technology. So go play with it, start thinking about how you might use it, start offering opinions on how you might use it, because I think that then means that you are the thought leader within your organization as to how it's going to be adopted.
Great. Maybe then we can dig into a little bit more around how we can use AI as a co-pilot. So if we jump forward a slide here, folks, if that's okay. So in your experience then, Lucy, what are some of the practical ways assistants are using AI tools where they are?
Yeah, well, of course, we're seeing assistants that are playing with emails and saying, well, let's look if we can change the tone on that, and doing some kind of basic research. But really, there are so many different ways in which you're able to use AI, and in all sorts of different areas of the role. So automating repetitive tasks. If you're going to set up AI agents, you're going to be able to tell them this thing needs to happen if that thing happens, and then that needs to happen after that. So anything that's repetitive, you're going to be able to set up automation for. In the end, you're going to be managing admin, I think, as opposed to doing admin. And then you're going to be freed up to be more of an administrative business partner. It's going to really help you with enhancing your decision making, because you're going to be able to go and find all sorts of information out there. Of course, you need to make sure that it's correct information. It can sometimes hallucinate, AI. And so you want to make sure that the information is right. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. It's going to really help, I think, with revolutionizing data analytics. And more we're seeing assistants doing data analysis on behalf of their executives. But I don't know about you. I've just spent the last couple of years really learning back to front and inside out things like Power Automate and Power BI. And then I'm kind of half and half, whether I'm furious or whether I'm delighted. But you can now use Copilot just to say, analyze this data and tell me what it means. We're doing the Global Skills Matrix survey at the moment, and that data is so easy. I just put it into AI and say, what does this mean? Give me the headlines on this. From a point of view of enabling strategic involvement, clearly being able to understand what documents mean. So whereas previously you might have a quarterly report, for example, where you're thinking, I'm not quite sure what this means, get it to give it to you in words of one syllable, and maybe ask it where you can add value, where you can take on greater responsibility. How can I support better as an administrative professional the goals that the company is setting for the next quarter? And of course, then there's things like project management. You're always better to start with an outline than not. So maybe go and ask it, I'm needing to put on this project. Here's the day I'm starting. Here's the day I'm finishing. Here are the things I'm trying to achieve. Give me a basic project outline for this. So it will do that in 2 seconds flat. And I don't know whether you have tried playing with Copilot yet, but you can ask it to look at your emails from however long you want and to say to you, what are the actions that I am needing to complete? You can ask it to help you with how you're going to deliver tasks, help me to see where my inefficiencies are. And my favorite one is that somebody said to me in a class quite recently that they'd asked Copilot to look at their emails over the last year and to suggest a role description, a job description, and what the title should be for their role. So all numerous ways. Oh, and the other favorite one for me is to use it for learning and adaptability. So if there's something you want to learn, ask it to set you up a course over the next 6 weeks, for example. I want to learn this, show me where I should go, or on a daily basis, give me information that I should be learning about that. So huge, huge amounts of things that you're able to do with AI.
And I mean, it's so powerful as you mentioned. But are there any pitfalls you should maybe be mindful of? Maybe for some of the ones who are not so confident, they might have heard some horror stories, maybe or read some things online about how ChatGPT can bring you the wrong information or whatever. What would you say are the pitfalls, Lucy?
Listen, the first thing is that clearly you shouldn't be putting anything that is secure information in there, because AI is learning all the time from what you're putting in there. If you're working within your office environment, you have Copilot, for example. If you look at the outside of your screen, if there is a green line running around it, that's a secure environment for your particular office. Everything that is within your business is secured by Office 365 by Microsoft. If there's a red line around the outside, it probably isn't secure, and you certainly shouldn't be using your own versions of AI to do anything to do with your organization. Because, for example, if you were to give it figures, it learns from that and it could churn them out to somebody else. The other thing I would say is that I always ask it to give me citations. So where are things coming from? So if it's giving me a stat and I'm looking at it and I'm going, oh, that's a really interesting stat. That's from Forbes, that's from McKinsey. If you then see one that says, well, this is from Sarah's school project, you know that that's probably not one that you want to use. And it will tell you where things are coming from. The thing is that as an assistant, you're trusted. And the first time you get it wrong and you go, oh, gosh, I'm so sorry, it was AI that told me the wrong information, they'll give you grace. If it's the second or third time, they're going, well, really, you should be checking where you're getting that stuff from before you give us that information.
Yeah, I think that's such a timely sort of observation on that, Lucy. So if we can click forward a slide, this seems like a really good opportunity or time for us to just introduce a follow-on webinar that we have lined up, where we're going to be introducing our new iBabs AI-powered minutes capability, iBabs Debrief. It's a very, very powerful way of allowing you to record or use a recording from, say, Teams, Google, Zoom, whatever, to record your meeting, capture meeting outcomes, so either a transcript or actual meeting minutes, or even a summary of your meeting, totally securely. Everything's permissions controlled within iBabs, and also without you training the outside world on your data. Each instance of iBabs Debrief is totally secure and dedicated just to your environment. So it's a very powerful, secure way of organizing and running your meetings, but leveraging the power of AI to help you really smash through the headache of those really difficult follow-on tasks from a meeting minutes, capturing your decisions in the meeting, capturing your actions. If you're interested in that, there's going to be a link on your screen around this time, hopefully, where you can register for our debrief event, which I think is happening on the 30th of October. We'd love to see you there. We'll show you how it all works in real life. We've got a live demonstration of the software as part of that session. So please do, if that sounds of interest, we'd love to have you along for that discussion on the 30th. So that's my little pitch over. If we jump in then onto the next section, which is how you can use AI to really help leverage your influence within the organization. And let's jump into the sort of meat of that in a second. Let's first, though, we have a little cheeky poll again, if that's okay, folks. So a quick question is, if AI could give you back 5 hours of your time a week, where would you probably spend that time that it frees up for you? Would it be supporting your exec strategy and priorities? Would it be improving communication with the wider business and your alignment with the teams across it? Would it be in evolving systems and processes across the business, or would you be using it to build your skills, your influence, you're doing a bit of personal development? Or if you've got any other ideas around how you could use that 5 hours worth of time, maybe you could add that into the chat for us. So we'll just give you a second or two to give us your feedback on that, folks, and then in a second, hopefully we'll get some results through. But Lucy, maybe I could get your thoughts on this initially. What do you think?
So interesting. You know, I feel like the way that assistants save time for themselves and the way they save time for their executives is all tied into the same thing. If you've heard me speak before, you know that I'm always saying that assistants are gatekeepers of time for their executives, and you're not gatekeepers of people. And that means that you are, for every hour you save your executives, saving an hour of their salary that drops to the bottom line. Well, in exactly the same way, if AI is the assistant's assistant, if it's your co-pilot, it's going to be saving you time that also drops to the bottom line. And 5 hours a week, absolutely, 100%. You know, I think I recently saw an article in Harvard Business Review that was fascinating, where we looked at CEOs and how they spend their time. And I used AI to analyze that and to say, well, okay, give me a table then as to the different ways that an executive CEO spends their time. And from that, I said, okay, so now let's look at that and see where the assistant could add value and save time for that executive. And it came back and it said exactly how many hours it thought that you would save based on that. I then said, okay, so if the executive salary is $300,000 a year, how much does that equate to? But as a final step, I said to it, and which of these things that the assistant has taken on could we then give to AI? And so sitting doing that exercise was hugely interesting. The other thing that I would say is that for the assistants, I'm seeing that very often you're talking about workflows and using AI for research, and that seems to be in the main as a world stat what you're looking at. But for the executives, and I am interested to see that reflected here. I'm glad to see you're saying professional skills and influence. That's always a good thing, particularly with the world changing for you all so fast. But I think if we ask your executives what they want, and Lucy Chamberlain at CNC Search did this a few weeks ago and just shared the results of that, top of their list is commercial awareness. Your executives are wanting you to have commercial awareness. So really understanding how the business wins and how your work supports that success. The second thing they want you to have is operations mastery. So understanding how to develop systems and processes and workflows and all that side of things. And then it's relational intelligence. So it's looking at things like navigating power and politics and people with empathy and with tact. I think if you look at what the assistants are looking at, they can see how it's going to free up their time. But if you look at what your executives are saying, I think it's really exciting, because if they're saying what they want is for you to understand the business better, it says that they are also seeing that you're going to be stepping into more strategic things. And it isn't just us as leaders that are waving our arms around going, go on, go learn the business. It's going to be good for you. The CEOs think that too.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So just to run through the results, over a third, just narrowly over a third, are going to spend the time building professional skills, which obviously is a great thing to do. But then we're split roughly 50-50 between supporting strategy and priorities, and then the developing systems and processes. And then
yeah,
sorry. Well, the last bit is around 15% are saying they'd improve their relationship with the wider business. But it's interesting that there's a slight, an opportunity there really to invest the time in all those things. But maybe it might be worth thinking, yeah, from what you've said, a little bit more about maybe getting close to the actual business goals and that sort of thing. Lucy, would you say, or?
Very, very definitely, because if you are going to be getting into working as an administrative business partner, which seems to be the way the role is going, in other words, you are working collaboratively. So you're both coming to the table with your skill sets, you have a goal, and the two of you are bringing your skill sets to that goal. So whereas in the past you might have had an executive who is given their goal and they go on this journey towards success on their own, and you as the assistant are saying, how can I help you? Are there things I can do that are going to support you? In a collaborative world of work, which is what everybody's saying the future of work is, you are a subject matter expert in administration. So you and your executive sit down together, you understand what the goal is, you understand the impact on that, on the business, and then the two of you take your different parts of what hitting that goal looks like. Because I've said it so often, but simple economics says if you're both capable of doing something, it should be the assistant that's doing it. So let's sit down, let's look at the goal, let's divide the work so that it is split according to the skill sets, and then let's go on a journey together to hit the goal. I just think you can't do that unless you understand what the business strategy is. And there's a great deal of difference between knowing and understanding. I think most assistants know a lot about their businesses. When we do our business strategy session in my Monday assistant course, when I say, tell me what your business is looking to do in the next 5 to 10 years, for example, they can give me headlines, but when we start digging into it, that's a very different story. If I start talking about what's your mission statement, let's talk about your competition, let's talk about geography. The headlines are there, but when you drill down, the detail isn't. And if you're going to become a proper administrative business partner, you need to know that detail.
I think that's so key, isn't it? And this is where freeing up the time with automating stuff that's maybe a little bit more mundane is not about the strategy and what the business is really trying to achieve. That's where it can really bring the value, really. But also you can use it to actually sort of enhance your understanding of the strategy. As you've said, Lucy, you can bounce ideas off it and that sort of stuff.
Yes, definitely. I think for me, I use it very much as a thought partner. I love it. I'm forever asking it things like, challenge my ideas on this. I have to say, AI will always agree with you. It will always tell you you are the cleverest person in the room and that you know more than anybody else. And if you say, I'm thinking about using it like this, it'll go, great idea. I love that. You're so clever. The thing to do, I think, is to be saying to it, challenge me on this. Where are the gaps in my thinking? Please give me an outline as to how you think I could develop this over a period of time. Really get it to question you. I actually have a list of 100 different ways that you can use AI as a strategic thought partner, and I will send that to you so you can share it with the audience if you would like. But I think if we're just using it right now to tell it to do things, we're missing a trick. It's moving so fast. I was having a conversation the other week with an HR director who was telling me that they were looking at setting up an AI agent who would do a certain amount of the task-based reactive stuff, and that would be automated. And they were now creating a job description for that AI agent and a job description for the assistant, and they were looking at how they performance manage both to make sure that the work was being done properly. That is now. So where are we going to be in 5-10 years time? I have absolutely no clue, but I'm not scared by it. I think it is just, I know people say, well, this can be used for bad things. The internet can be used for bad things as well, but it has seems to become part of our infrastructure. And in fact, I saw in Brazil quite recently a really fascinating presentation at Physic on futurology and where it's going. And really, we're post-mobile phone era now. So if you think about where we were before mobile phones and how we did things, we would look up how to get somewhere in a map, and we might have photocopied that and taken it with us. Or if we wanted to book a restaurant, we would have called to ask. Obviously, we would have made phone calls via landlines. But you think of the myriad of ways that a mobile phone has totally changed our life. AI is going to be that. AI is post-mobile phone era. He was actually saying, the guy on stage, that, we will have earpieces and it'll be saying to us, did you drink enough water yet this morning? Or I don't think you've drunk enough water this morning yet. And if you were wanting to get somewhere, it would be telling you in your ear how to get there. As a speaker, I could upload my speaker notes, do my speech, and it'd be saying you haven't mentioned this yet. I mean, I just think it's going to be a totally different way that we're going to live our lives. Interesting, very fast. I'm not sure I'll like all of it, but what I do think is that it's going to be a benefit.
Yes, I must admit I find my car nannying me occasionally quite annoying. So I'm not sure all of it's going to be particularly welcome, especially if it's telling me I've not drunk enough water. But it's all. Well, it's all. I guess the thing is, it's not going to go away, is it? You can't hide from it. It's a bit like the internet, where everybody was saying it's going to revolutionize your life. And then 3 years later, when it hadn't, then people were like, oh, well, that's a load of rubbish. But then 10 years later, your life is completely different. And so it's really, you can't, I don't think it's something you can hide from, really.
No, and I think the thing for assistants to remember is that, every time the technology has developed, the role has alongside it. So, for example, we started off with a typewriter, then we went to an electronic typewriter, then a word processor, then we got computers, then we got internet, then we got cloud computing, and now we've got AI. And if you think about it, the assistant role has evolved at every stage, right alongside the technology. And all it has done is to increase influence and to give more depth and breadth to the role. Not more work, just different kinds of work. And I think AI is that. It's going to bring a lot more depth to the work the assistants are doing, a lot more breadth to the work they're doing. It's going to make them more influential. And it's going to mean that your businesses will finally understand the value you're bringing to the organization when they utilize you properly. And that, to me, is really exciting.
Yeah. And, well, like you say, if it gets rid of the stuff that's not interesting a lot of the time. So for me, when I was growing up doing typing, I was a terrible typist. So moving away from a world where you had to use Tipex and a word processor or whatever, it's so much better now that you can just things have evolved in a much better way.
Is a really important point, Jonathan, because I think, for those assistants that are going, well, I'm not going to use it, I don't like it. That's a bit like saying, well, I'm going to keep doing my work on a typewriter. It is just the evolution, isn't it? And we just have to go with the flow if we're wanting to make sure that we remain relevant.
Well, that's a really nice sort of lead into the next section is how do we really then use AI to help support and build our influence and enable us to become that strategy partner for our organization? So if we jump into the next slide here, I guess what would you say? Why is influence and such an important part of the exec support role today, Lucy?
Listen, I think for most assistants, it's about stepping into your confidence in your abilities and your decisions. I think, if you are working with AI in the background, it's really going to help you with that. For most assistants, there's nobody you can go and ask. So you're looking at things and thinking, well, I'm pretty sure I'm right about that, but it would be really good to have a conversation with somebody to make sure I'm thinking along the right lines. So using, as I say, AI as a thought partner to really dig deep into things so that you have a much better understanding, and to use it to take stats, to take reports, to take things that maybe you have never had the opportunity to really, because you haven't got time or because you haven't really understood it, to dig into and understand where you are valid there. I've quoted several times in this presentation the LinkedIn Work Trends report. That's a 200-page report. I literally fed it into AI and said to it, what in here is relevant to administrative professionals? And it gave me about 5 bullet points. That is so quick. Just taking away from you having to read those 200 pages of document, but it does mean that it gives you a voice so that you're able to have clarity if you are communicating your vision. Especially around process and procedure and implementation, are extraordinary. We don't see really as leaders quite how amazing you are at that, I think. And I don't know that you understand also how amazing you are at that. When I do psychometric testing on assistants for their skill sets, the one that comes out at the top 9 times out of 10 is process, procedure and implementation and project management. It's that piece. And a high score in that on this particular test is between 12 and 15, and most assistants score between 25 and 30. So it's absolutely your superpower, that really understanding how to put things in place. Executives are great at coming up with ideas and going, amazing idea. And usually the assistant at that point goes pale because they know they're going to have to be the one who takes it and implements it. But really, for me, that clarity in how you communicate that stuff, how you create the vision, you are now able to say, this is how I think the process should go, and get it to draw it all up for you. You're not having to use Visio and all these other things to talk about how those processes go. But I think also, if you are wanting credibility, being able to add depth to the ideas that you've got, put into it, I've had this idea, I think this could be a really good idea, this is how it works currently, this is where I'd like to get to, give me depth to this argument, give me a proper business case. Somebody said to me the other day, I don't have access to AI, they won't give me a license, there are only a certain number of licenses for the people at my organization, and I really need one. And this is the thing, because they're confusing what most of the rest of the business needs it for with what you need it for, which on the whole is productivity. So why not go to AI and say to it, here is my role description, write me a business case as to why I need AI. This is what I'm talking about. So put together in business language that the people who are at the top will really understand. And that then gives you the ability to influence others at the top of the organization. It gives you a voice, it gives you confidence, it allows you to be the subject matter expert in administration, because you know what you want to say. It's just 9 times out of 10, you're not sure how to say it. You're not sure about the language. You're not sure how to put it in proper business terms. And you do it 2 or 3 times through ChatGPT. Oh, there's my other hint. don't just take it as it is. Please do tweak it so that you haven't just got AI language. It's very obvious when it's just AI language. But, get the structure, use it so that you then feel confident that when you're suggesting something, it is a proper business case instead of this would be good for me because. They don't care why it's good for you. What they care about is what it's going to do for the organization. So get it to help you with all that stuff. That's how you're going to get more influential, by finding your courage, by finding your confidence, by having clarity in what you're doing. And that's going to build your credibility and give you the ability to be influential.
I think that's so powerful. So, and it also leads nicely into the next section, which is really around what are the growth opportunities for assistants over the next few years. If you think about AI maybe as more of an enabler rather than a threat, that opens up a whole different world, I guess. So, out of the sort of following things that AI might be able to help you with, I'd love to get the audience's thoughts on which they regard as the biggest growth opportunity. Is it becoming more data insight driven because you've got the ability to handle information more powerfully? Is it leading process and technology improvements within the organization? Is it helping your execs' productivity and focus by becoming enabling them to free up that time? Or is it expanding your with your teams? Or if you have any other ideas about what they could do, please do add those in the chat as well, folks. So we'll just give you a second or two to come back to us, hopefully there with some thoughts to wrap up the discussion.
It's so interesting because we're in the middle of redoing the global skills matrix. And the global skills matrix, for anybody who doesn't know, and I hope you do all know by now, but the global skills matrix is a career framework for assistants that we put together over a 6-year period, which we published in 2021. And over 13,000 businesses have now downloaded it and are using it to structure their administrative functions within their organizations. And in it says the kind of skills that you can expect at each level. There are 5 different levels of assistant. It says at each level, from entry level all the way up to a director of administration, what are the different skill sets and kind of tasks and competencies that you can expect. And the great thing about it is that allows your business to manage you from a point of view of what your skills are rather than opinion. I could go on for hours, but I'm not going to. But what I would say is that clearly it was published in 2021 and AI was only invented in 2022, so it was time for a refresh. So we're in the process of collecting data for that. And I really am seeing so much of what is coming out of that as I'm not seeing at all any of the task-based stuff in them. No email, no calendar, not unless it's really complex and it's going to be AI that's doing it. But while I've got your attention, I think they're going to put the link to it up so that if any of you haven't done it, we would love to hear what's happening for you in your world. If we're going to get the new global skills matrix right, we need to have as much data as possible from as many of you as possible from all over the world. Europe is lagging behind the United States and the UK and Canada and Australia. So particularly our European audience out there, please go fill it out. We want it to be representative for all of you. But it closes on the 22nd of November and it will be published, the new version, early in the new year so that you're all able to go and use it. And if you've even showed your executives before the old one, it'll be worth going and saying, here's a new one, but also to say, this is where I think I fit. I think I'm a level 3 or I think I'm a level 4. And what do you think? Which skills do you think in here that maybe I could enhance or I could get training on? Going back to you saying that you thought that you needed training on various skills, that was one of the most important things. It's moving forward, that whole training piece, in order to keep up with understanding what is going on with business strategy, understanding what the role is, understanding AI. The training has never been more important, I don't think.
Yeah, indeed. So just to share the results, Lucy. So there's sort of two clear winners around where the opportunities lie, according to our audience. The first is around helping with their exec productivity and focus, and then the other sort of ones are split roughly sort of 20% each. So expanding influence, etc., becoming more data and insight driven, but helping their execs become more productive and ensuring they've got the time to focus on their roles seems to be the clear winner there.
Of course, because that's the job. The
Yeah.
job is to be the gatekeeper of time. So, yes, the rest of it, of course, is wonderful, and it is going to be more of what your job is. But I think the core role of an assistant is to make sure the executive is as productive and focused as they can possibly be. Well done, everybody.
Good stuff. So, before we go into the Q&A, just a little, we've got another little ad break to mention that iBabs is software for effective board and committee meetings. If you'd like to find out more about how it can help save you hours of time compiling, building agendas for your teams, allows you securely to collaborate with your colleagues around agendas, papers, build a searchable, structured history of all of your meetings, your minutes, your actions and decisions from any internet-connected device. We'd love to have a conversation with you. We've got also our new smart debrief capability that we can show you as well as part of that. And the initial feedback we're getting is it can give you back that 5 hours a day we talked about earlier. So it's 5 hours a week, sorry. So if that sounds like it could be of interest to find out more information, you should have a cheeky link on the screen now, and we will follow up with you after the event. So that's me done with the sort of explanation there. And that leads very nicely into Q&As then for our discussion. So hopefully we've had a few questions drop in as we've been having the discussion today. So this is a really interesting one, which has dropped in. So Kim has asked how we can use Copilot for emails if our company are concerned with data protection and they don't want sensitive information exposed to it.
Okay, so are you meaning writing emails, or are you because Copilot you would use usually to write emails? Your company shouldn't be concerned so much with data protection if you are within a company environment. It's I'm not quite understanding the question. I think Copilot, yes, if you are feeding information into your own version of Copilot, then that's a security risk. But if you're feeding information into Copilot, which is purely for in-house things,
maybe that's the distinction, isn't it? Within your own organization environment, I think it should be fine. As you say, as long as you got the green around your screen, then it's all within 365.
Absolutely, because the thing is, you could put anything into an email anyway, whether you're using Copilot or not. So it can't be a worry that you're going to be sending information on your email out into the outside world, because you could do that anyway with or without AI. But AI, the difficulty with AI is if you're putting sensitive information into your own. If it's your company's AI, you automatically get the protection because Microsoft just does that if you bought the company license. Okay.
Hopefully that's answered that one, Lucy. We also have a question then from Veronica, which is AI is still not really helping out with calendar management. Any tips on how to best leverage AI to manage your calendar?
Yeah, there is a wonderful, wonderful product called ShareCal, which if you haven't found it yet, it's miraculous. I think it's the best one out there on the market. It's been developed by a former EA, and they have developed it at every stage of the process with EAs, which means that really you can just manage your executive's calendar as well as managing yours, because we all know that calendar management isn't just like it is for everybody else, where you're managing your own calendar. You need to manage it on behalf of your executive. So lots of demos flying around for that. Maybe go and take a look. I actually think in the end Microsoft will buy it, because they always buy everything, don't they, and add it to their own portfolio.
That's true. That is very, very true. So Helen has written in and asked, any advice for organisations where there is a strong aversion to AI risks and the use of any AI tool in the business due to concerns over data and privacy, particularly in the voluntary sector.
This is so where some people are at the moment. That whole kind of, if I stick my head in the sand, I hope it'll go away. It's really going to be bad for our company because we could be putting data out there that's going to affect our privacy and so on. It's what I was saying earlier. You've got assistants that are chomping at the bit to use it and aren't being given licenses, and then you've got others who are going, well, I really don't even want to think about this because I could get myself into a whole heap of trouble. Please think about it through the lens of the internet and where we were and where we are. This really is not going anywhere. 77% of businesses are using it already. And so I, as I said earlier, would be making a business case and saying, listen, this is why we need it. Maybe go to ChatGPT and say to it, listen, don't put any names in there. Don't put any data that is going to be explosive or going to breach your security. But maybe go and say, we are a charity. We have a lot of people who are very risk averse. We have some that really want to use it. Write me a list of 10 reasons why we should, as an organisation, be using it, and what will happen if we don't. What are the things that are going to improve, and what are the things, maybe even 20 or maybe even 100, and then send it to them and say, I've done the research, and by the way, I did the research using AI and I didn't put anything into it. But it's a really good way, I think, if you start using it for things, but you use it in a responsible way, and then you start saying, well, I used AI to do that and it saved me this amount of time, and I used AI to do that. Okay, it's starting to just drip feed them what it is possible of, because right now they're just reading headlines in business press that are saying, it's going to do terrible things to all of us.
With my sort of information security background hat on, the things I would look for are, is your data being used to train the AI? You probably don't want it to do that. With Microsoft Copilot, for instance, you can lock it down so that all of the information stays within your environment. You want to make sure that the people you're dealing with are ISO 27001 accredited. That's the information security independent standard, and that makes sure that people you're dealing with are handling your information in the right way. And the other key thing I think really is that everything's permissions controlled. So you want to make sure that your information is not going to fall into the wrong hands, even within the organization. And that's those three things are the three things I'd be looking at. If your organizations are a bit risk averse around AI, I get it. There are risks in it, but you can't hide from it, I guess, going back to your point, Lucy. So look out for it's horses for courses, really. If you need that security and you need to have that level of, you're dealing with sensitive information, you've got to look for a tool that really handles and is specifically designed for that particular application from my perspective. But sorry, I've sort of jumped in there, but I just thought
really, really great information.
Cool. So we've got Fazana has developed a productivity curriculum using Claude AI
Wow.
to develop the sessions, which is amazing. How can I, in my role as EA, build some momentum around this for the organisation? So that's an interesting one, Lucy.
That's wonderful because it's showing
Mm,
real initiative and innovation and strategic thinking. And I think the next step is probably all about influence. It's positioning it as something that the organisation can't afford to ignore. So I would be thinking about it as a business solution, not as a side project, first of all. So I think you're going to gain traction faster if you're linking it to organisational goals. So think about productivity, efficiency, well-being, think about the return on investment. Yes, so think, okay, so if every employee is regaining 1 hour of a week through using this, what does that mean in terms of return on investment? I would be thinking about getting executive sponsorship early. So get them on board, explain to them that it's an opportunity for them to be seen as productivity champions, talk about purpose and outcomes and time commitment and, again, ROI. I think it's what's it going to do for the organisation as opposed to what's it going to do for you. I think maybe go and talk to HR or L&D, maybe partner with them so that they're getting it out there. Say, I've built a framework that I think could complement our existing training portfolio. I would love your help to roll it out so that people understand the productivity gains. Can I walk you through it? Talk about how it's going to align with their KPIs. So kind of set it up so that you're becoming an advocate for them as well.
Yeah.
And really, you don't have to be the trainer. You can be the force behind the change. So give it to people that are able to roll it out for you. Frame yourself as a project lead on it, as opposed to just the creator. And then, to me, that's how, as an assistant, you are transitioning from supporting productivity to driving organizational change.
It's that strategy bit then, because you're getting the sponsors behind it. You're really helping to push development as a possibility within the organisation.
Agreed. And I think the other thing is maybe use AI to draft it for you. So that first of all, you're looking at how you maybe do an executive summary so that you're able to pitch it properly, maybe put a launch plan together or a project plan for it, maybe even get it to script and get a presentation for you. With Copilot, you can literally say, here are the bullet points that I want. Please turn this into a presentation for me. But, again, go ask the question. In fact, if you'd asked the question in the first place to ChatGPT and you put in the question that you phrased, I'm sure it would have give me a list of 10 ways that I can do this. It would absolutely do that for you.
Perfect. We've got the next question from Amy, which is, does iBabs meeting minutes element have the ability to listen to an in-person meeting? Or is it only if added to an online meeting? I'll maybe field that one, Lucy. It'll be very brief.
Over to you.
It can do both. So you can either have a computer or a phone in the meeting listening to an in-person meeting, or you can use your Team and Zoom recording to handle it as well. So hopefully that ticks that one off for us. Amy, we'd love to have a chat with you if that sounds interesting. But that leads nicely into a couple of questions that we've had, which are really around AI prompting. And I think this is such an important topic. So maybe this could be the last one to round us out today, if that's okay, Lucy. Florence is asking, how can she get better at prompting with AI?
Yeah, I think it's just being really specific. Somebody said to me at one point, imagine it's a 12-year-old and you're explaining to them exactly what you're wanting them to do, but that they have capacity to endless information. So a really weak prompt would be something like write me an agenda, as opposed to act as a top executive assistant, create a 60-minute leadership team meeting agenda, include timings, decision points, expected outcomes, do this in table format, write for clarity. So I think it's, first of all, looking at what the role is. Who is the person that is you're wanting to write on behalf of? So, for example, I went on holiday earlier on this year and did a whole month touring Spain because it's where I live and I wanted to see more of the history. So I said that I was going to act as a top travel manager, and I had two people, one who was 57 and one who was 76, who were going to be traveling, one who had mobility issues. Here was my budget per day. Tell me, please, where I should be visiting, and include some things that were a definite must-sees and some things that were a bit off the wall. Make sure that it's in table format, write for clarity. So can you see, it's the role, it's what the task is, give it a load of detail, tell you how you want it formatted, and then look at exactly how you want it in terms of tone. If you get those 5 things, role, task, detail, format, and tone, it's going to give you exactly what you want, as opposed to going off piste, so you have to keep refining it.
That's spot on. And if it's okay, Lucy, I'll just do a little trailer here for we're also jointly developing a prompt library, which will soon be available via the website. So keep an eye out for that, and I'm sure Lucy will help sort of communicate that to you guys as well. So. Folks, I think we've reached our time. I can't believe that's absolutely flown by as ever, Lucy. It's always great pleasure and such a great joy to have these conversations. On behalf of everybody watching, I'd like to say a huge thank you for your time and deep wisdom and insight today. Folks, if you'd be interested in finding out more about iBabs, you can go onto our website. There's loads of good stuff there as well to help you in your role as an exec support. But maybe if I leave you with the final word, Lucy.
Oh, goodness. My final word on this is please, please don't be scared by AI. It is going to be extraordinary. And I think for your career, it is going to be the catalyst that we need that's going to make the business understand how extraordinary you are in your roles. So embrace it. Go play with it. Make sure you really understand it so that you can take the lead. And then they're really going to see the value that you're bringing to the bottom line.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Lucy, and hopefully see you all really soon.
I hope so. Thank you, Jonathan. It's always such a pleasure to work with you.
Brilliant.